Hi ducks, I got my juice box of coconut water and I'm going to talk about my favorite books that I read in 2018. I know that this video is very late. It's March 2019, but I've been working on some stuff that I will talk about later. I read 68 books last year, which was great because my goal was to read 52 books. The books I talk about today weren't necessarily published in 2018, they're just the ones that I personally read and enjoyed. I'm going by my own calendar. I narrowed all of that down to 3 each for poetry, nonfiction, and novels. So starting with nonfiction, excuse me if I wax lyrical for a moment, but Wanderlust by Rebecca Solnit is so lovely. I'll listen to her lectures and interviews while I'm cleaning my room because her voice is just so soothing, the way that she disseminates pure information and knowledge upon you. I got to meet her last year. She is such a presence. A lot of people know Rebecca Solnit for her current political writing, and I've talked about that before, Hope in the Dark and Men Explain Things to Me, but she also writes these incredibly specific histories of certain subjects, and reading through her bibliography makes me wonder what we would be writing if we never had to live with patriarchy. Like, if you never had to explain rape culture to another person, how would you otherwise spend that energy? Wanderlust is a history of walking. It feels silly to try to summarize it because it covers so many topics, and this is a metaphor that she brings up really often when she talks about her work, that she's not just interested in one aspect of art or feminism or history, right? She wants to cover all of the fields of knowledge, and that she's like walking through all of these fields. And I have to show you how the book is formatted. I lent it to my friend Eden, so they sent me this video. So you have the essays, right? And then running along the bottom of the page, from page to page as you turn, are lines and lines of quotes about walking or forests. It's just such a clever way to format nonfiction, right? It really inspires wanderlust. Oh, Rebecca. Okay, the second book I do have with me, it is Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by Samin, Nosrat. I got this book because I saw her Netflix show, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, and a lot has been said about how the show breaks traditional conceptions of the cooking show. Even though she's a really talented and accomplished chef, she positions herself as a student who's just so excited to learn no matter who she's talking to, and that philosophy is really reflected in this book as well. So many cookbooks are so glossy and they have all these photographs of perfectly styled food, and you know you'll never be able to get your recipe to look that way. She just has cute watercolor drawings in the place where you would have those styled photographs. The font is really legible and easy to read. She has a really personable writing voice. In the first half of the book, she explains how salt, fat, acid, heat are the components of all good cooking, and then the second half is all recipes. I haven't really dug into the recipes yet because I'm still rereading the first half to really just ingrain it in, but the biggest thing that she says is just to properly salt all of your food, and I've been doing that, and everything tastes way better now, so thank you. Last for nonfiction is A Handbook of Disappointed Fate by Anne Boyer. She's the kind of writer where her poetry reads like essays and her essays read like long poems. It's really gorgeous, rich writing. This is another book that I don't want to summarize in a single sentence, but I would say that each essay constellates around the theme of survival. She has free PDFs of her old poetry on her website, I'm pretty sure, so check that out if you are interested. I really recommend reading the book out loud, either to yourself or with friends. It makes such a difference to just hear yourself mouthing what she's saying. Next up is fiction. I finally read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. You guys know that I am a baby and I don't like scary books or scary movies. I can't do shock value and jump scares, but Shirley Jackson's writing is much more psychological, and it's like the exact level of creepy that's fun for me. It feels like an enjoyable roller coaster. It's not a nightmare. I don't have it with me because it was a library book, but The Haunting of Hill House follows a group of paranormal investigators as they go to a haunted house in the middle of nowhere to investigate the paranormal like a bunch of silly heads, and it really follows one young woman in the group and her self-esteem issues, and she has this really intense friendship with one of the other women, and that felt really gay, so great book. And now we have Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. Reading more young adult fiction was such a good idea last year. This is about 2 college kids who, for reasons that you discover in the book, can't really see each other in person, so they carry out this whole friendship over text, and it's such a nuanced portrayal of technology. I feel especially sensitive to this in YA books, but you know, the way that writers will pull in pop culture and social media references feels like such a relatability ploy sometimes, because I'm not spending the time making my characters and dialogue seem fresh and real. I'm just gonna tell you that they drink at Starbucks, and then you'll be like, oh my god, I also have frappuccinos. And that's not the case at all in this book. Choi incorporates technology in appropriately casual ways, like it's part of the fabric of their everyday life, and she takes that same approach with the really complicated lives that the characters have. I appreciate that this is YA romance, but still tackles issues like class and race and complicated family dynamics without sacrificing any of the adorableness. For example, Penny Lee, the main character, is a survivor, and I clocked that from the first chapter. I was like, this girl has PTSD, and she does, and it's handled in a really healthy, naturalistic way. Wonderful book overall. I hope that there's a sequel, and I hope that when it's eventually adapted into a cute movie, I can play the mean best friend. Hi, I completely forgot to mention my third pick for fiction, or Piction, but it is A Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter Miller. It's going to be the first book for my book club read, which is still happening. I'm just tired. I think it's best if you go into the book with no idea of what's about to happen to you, but basically it is Catholic monks in a post-nuclear desert landscape, and it somehow manages to also be a great Jewish American novel. Okay, carry on. And finally, we have some poetry, my favorite. I read Look by Solmaz Sharif at the start of the year, and then again in December for a paper that I was writing for school, and I knew that she was smart and I knew that this was an incredible book, but having to write a full essay on it and really sit and examine each of the poems, just like, okay, she's just genius, okay. Throughout the book you'll see words and phrases that are in small caps, and you can see how it contrasts with the other letters. So these are terms from the United States Department of Defense's Dictionary of Military and Associated Terms. So that dictionary, as she explains in the back of the book, is a supplement to standard English dictionaries, and it's updated regularly, often monthly, with unclassified terms being added and subtracted as needed. So when you see small caps throughout the book, that means that the way the military uses that word is different enough to warrant its own dictionary in order to explain it. Like, I think I know what the word fire means, but there's a whole world of meaning beyond, you know, how I light candles. So through these poems, she places all those dictionary terms into their true context of war and empire while exploring how those institutions shape the language that we use every day. Definitely read her essay on erasure as a form in poetry before getting the book. She studied under June Jordan at UC Berkeley with the Poetry for the People program, which is a legendary writing workshop. June Jordan is one of my favorite writers of all time. She's also from Los Angeles. She's a West Side girl. Have some more poetry. Loose Woman by Sandra Cisneros. So many of us are familiar with her because she wrote the classic children's book, The House on Mango Street. It's such a tender story about growing up, and I was really interested in her writing as a grown woman, and her poetry, oh my goodness. Really gorgeous language, so much lush imagery. She digs so deep into sex and friendship and how to navigate the world while staying honest with yourself, even if that's the only person that you're being honest to. You can tell that I read this book in a class because my post-it notes are still in it. American Sonnets for My Past and Future Assassin by Terrance Hayes. So the American sonnet is a form created by Wanda Coleman, who wanted to rework the traditional literary form into something less exclusionary. There's a full breakdown of the specific components of an American sonnet, and as she explains it in the back of this book. Terrance Hayes wrote the poems in the first 200 days after the Trump presidency, and of course the poems speak to the times, but they also grapple with a really long history that so much political writing, poetry or otherwise, will leave out. You know, this is a history that explains Trump not as some aberration that absolutely no one saw coming, but as a very obvious part of American politics. Throughout his career, Terrance Hayes has done so much innovation within forms, and this book is a testament to that, like how much creativity and wordplay and triple meaning can a person pack into 14 lines. My suggestion is, as you read through the book, to track symbols, so like birds and small rooms show up a lot, and just look at how those symbols morph throughout the book. So those are my 9 favorite books of 2018. They're all listed in the description along with some essays and interviews and other resources to complement the books. Check out your local library or independent bookstore. I also have a coupon link to thriftbooks.com for a 15% off discount in the description. I've been using that website a lot recently to buy books. It's really handy. This isn't sponsored, I just love it. It's all secondhand stuff. They have a great like reading rewards points program, and if you use my link, they will also give me a little discount, and then I can buy more books and talk about them on the internet. Today's fact is that my first collection of poetry, Branches, is now being published as a second edition. It's really, really exciting. It's why I haven't been online as much the last couple months, because I've been revising and editing all of these poems that I wrote when I was a teenager. It's now available for pre-order. It has a brand new cover that I love so much. Dandelions are so important to me, and I can't tell you how excited I am about this book. Macaroni was crying because I locked him out of my room to shoot this, so here's the whiny baby. Branches Part 2, The Branchening, comes out in a few weeks in April. It ships internationally. I'm still figuring out what my book tour things look like, but I will be reading at offsite events at AWP in Portland and Festival of Books in Los Angeles. There's information about everything I talked about today in the description. That is all for me. I'm gonna go walk my fluffy boy. Bye!